This episode includes content that might not be suitable for all listeners. We will be discussing sexual violence as well as the death of a local woman. If you are not comfortable with any of these topics, feel free to skip this episode, and we will see you in our next one. Hey guys, welcome back to We're All Mad Here. I'm Jen.
And I'm Haley.
And we decided we want to join the cool kids and be a true crime podcast this week.
Yes. I mean, those are my favorite podcasts.
Those are the ones I listen to the most. Mm-hmm. So it's because we're white girls.
Mm-hmm. Don't lie. You listen to ours.
Me?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
You go back through. You're like, oh, how do I sound?
I do.
I mean, that's why we started this podcast, is because you love hearing yourself.
Correct. But also, we're just having fun, too.
Facts.
Like last week. F-A-X.
Facts.
But before we get into our true criming, we got fan mail. So last week I mentioned how we have a new feature where people can send us messages, and we got one from California.
Ooh, Callie.
It says, Haley, my forever birthday twin. Gotta go catch up on your newest episode now. Sincerely, Black.
Oh, he's not from California.
Well, that's where it says it came from.
Okay.
So, I don't know.
Blackie.
So we have our first message, and it's for you. It's not even for me.
He is my forever birthday twin.
Nobody likes me. Everybody hates me. Guess I'll go eat worms.
Shout out to Black. Love you.
Thanks for listening. We're glad you're here. We hope you enjoyed last week's episode of Words. And yeah, if you send us a message, we'll shout you out. I think and also if you message us, send us ideas of what you want to hear us talk about too.
Yeah.
Because
we're here for you.
And
actually.
And also me. Yeah. But also our listeners.
Mm-hmm. Lil.
The producer.
I don't even see her.
She's over here. Okay. The producer is on one right now. So several weeks back, we made a brief mention of a teacher we had back in high school. And we said that there was more to his story. And so we decided we were going to follow in the footsteps of Forensic Files and Dateline and all...
Well,
the producer's getting all over the microphone. We're going to be a true crime.
Yes.
We're going to see what happened.
We're going to tell the story because we lived it.
We kind of did. So,
kind of. We actually absolutely did.
When I was going back and doing the research on this case, I was like, I didn't realize that we were still in school, like, when it first happened.
Really?
I don't, again, it's part of my blackout periods, I'm sure. But it was 2011 is when the first, everything started.
Yeah, it was our senior year.
Yeah, it was fall of our senior year. So, this website is called findlaw.com.
Sounds legit.
But it is though, because it has all of the like court records and a lot of the evidence and everything that they had.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But this is the State versus Starbuck.
That's right.
Case.
I forgot that was her last name.
So it was decided, we came to a conclusion of this case on September 8th, 2015. So 4 years-ish after the incident first went down. So we're going to start with the background of this case. So Clay and Chanin Starbuck were married and divorced twice. I don't know if they were married to each other twice and divorced twice, or if they had been married to other people and divorced, and then married to each other and then divorced. It doesn't elaborate.
I know they were divorced when everything happened.
Correct. But they had 5 children.
Holy shit. They were a conjoined family.
Well, okay, so then it says, when the second marriage ended in July of 2011, the youngest 3 children, 2 girls and boy, were minors.
Yeah.
So, did they have 5 children together?
Combined, they had 5. I think some of them were from other marriages. I think.
I have no idea. We're not doing very good on our
fact
checking.
Either way, we do factually know they had 5.
There were 5 children. She was awarded custody of the 3 young children, while Mr. Starbuck was ordered to pay both child support and maintenance to her, Ms. Starbuck. There was a restraining order against him in favor of her. He was prohibited from disturbing her peace or going on the grounds of her home or workplace.
Okay.
So they lived in Deer Park, which is north of town. How far is Deer Park? Like 45 minutes?
If that. It's like
30-ish.
30 to 40.
Okay. Little ways out of town. Despite the restraining order, Mr. Starbuck appeared at Miss Starbuck's residence to take the children to school most mornings. By October, Mr. Starbuck was in arrears on his support and maintenance obligations. The Superior Court entered a judgment on an order of contempt for $9,166 in unpaid obligations, plus an additional $500 for attorney fees.
Oof.
The decision to pursue the payment obligations resulted in Mr. Starbuck sending angry text messages to Ms. Starbuck about the financial consequences, and also expressing his desire for more time with their children and more say in raising them. Which, I mean, if he is actually wanting to be a decent dad, I have no problems with that. But if you're just trying to get out of child support,
right,
and you're still not gonna do shit,
it's jacked up.
I don't know about that one.
It's pretty messed up.
Clay Starbuck, the father, texted his children before 8 a.m. on Thursday, December 1st, 2011, that his car had died and that their mother would have to take them to school. He then sent a similar text to Ms. Starbuck that was answered with K. The letter K. Mr. Starbuck's phone was then turned off. Ms. Starbuck took the children to school. At 9:18, Ms. Starbuck's cell phone called the Spokane County 911 service. The responder did not hear anything intelligible during the 35-second call. When the call ended, the responder dialed the number back, but the return call immediately went to voicemail, and the phone was turned off.
Sus.
Questionable. Ms. Starbuck did not pick up her children after school. When one of her daughters texted her at 2:45 p.m. asking who was going to pick them up, Ms. Starbuck's phone responded 20 minutes later with a text, "Dad, I have a headache, stay there." Her phone sent a text to Mr. Starbuck 12 minutes later that stated, "I just woke up, can you pick up the kids?" Mr. Starbuck's telephone was turned on again at 3:37, so his phone turned off at like 8 in the morning. And then it came back on at 3:37.
Oh, okay. So we got a
lot of dead time on that cell phone there.
No pun intended.
By that time, an older child had picked up the younger children and taken them to Mr. Starbuck's home. So taking them home to Dad's.
Okay. Mr. Starbuck picked them up?
No, one of the older children.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
Picked up the younger children.
Maybe pay attention, Haley.
Keep up. And took them to Dad's.
Okay.
Ms. Starbuck, so Mom, did not attend her son's basketball game that evening.
Blasphemy.
Horrible mother. How dare she?
Let's be kind. She's no longer here.
Well,
like, okay, maybe.
I mean, yes, but
Obviously, she was a good mother.
She was a good mother.
It was unusual for her to not be at the basketball game.
Which is why it was marked here. Which is why it was pointed out that she was not at the basketball game. Because she should be there.
Don't raise your voice at me.
I will.
You just said she's a bad mother.
I was joking. I was being facetious.
That's a big word for you.
That is a big word.
All right. Continue on.
Continue. There was no response when Mr. Starbuck and the children went to her house after the game. The house was locked and dark. Mr. Starbuck called the Spokane County Sheriff's Office the next day to ask for a welfare check, and because the children needed to enter the house to obtain their clothing. Deputies responded that evening and found the lights out, the doors locked, and a package sitting by the front door. Obtaining no response and lacking information to obtain a warrant, they left. On December 3rd, so 2 days later, a friend of Ms. Starbuck called the sheriff's department and asked them again to check on her. The responding deputies had her landlord unlock the door. They entered and found her dead on the bed.
Oh my gosh. Dead on the bed. Really?
I'm literally just reading it. They're a poet and they didn't know it. The body was naked, bruised, and battered.
Oh my gosh.
Only a mattress pad was on the bed. So there are no sheets, no...
Should we do like a disclaimer?
We might have to add something in at the beginning.
Yeah.
Trigger warning.
After the fact. It's fine.
The blankets were somewhat folded on the floor, but the bed sheets were not in the room.
Weird. Okay.
The body was, quote, posed with a sex toy placed in or on... I don't know what
That's disgusting.
In or on her
person
below the belt.
Oh my gosh.
Her hands were on a massager placed on her pubic area, and her cell phone was on the nightstand next to the bed.
That's messed up.
Like, gross.
All right.
I'm just trying to picture, not that I would kill somebody, but if I were to kill somebody and there happened to be sexual undertones, I don't know what the right word is, like how these
well, that's the difference between men and women, are
maybe, but
so different.
Why were these items placed in/on her?
Dude, it's all freaking mental case.
So freaking crazy. Anyways, a gun safe near the bed was open, displaying sexual devices on the shelves.
That's bizarre.
So,
trying to make a statement there, I guess.
A coroner determined that Ms. Starbuck had been strangled with something soft, like a towel, or by a chokehold with an arm. She had chest injuries consistent with the use of a stun gun.
Oh.
The body exhibited multiple bruises, including one on the brain, which suggested a blow to the head, 11 broken ribs, and a broken bone in the trachea area.
Oh my gosh.
So, in her throat.
Right, that's awful.
There was indication that her hands may have been bound during the ordeal. The coroner believed the victim died on December 1st. She had been face down when killed and then moved to the bed. That is just so...
I didn't know it was so horrific.
I didn't either.
I thought she was shot or just strangled,
I don't think we ever really knew the details back then, but
that's awful.
Gross and dark. Yeah. And again, how can a person do that to another person?
You can't fathom it.
No. Again, not that I would murder somebody, but if I were to do that, that is not the way I would do it.
Well, most women would never do anything like that.
True.
I mean, just saying.
Oh, that's fair. Clay Starbuck arrived at Chanin's home during the initial investigation. He volunteered to a detective that Chanin was heavily involved with online dating and was seeing several men at the same time. He was directed to go to the sheriff's substation. There, he repeated his allegations to two other detectives and also provided family history information for them.
So at this point, he's cooperating.
At this point, he's cooperating, and he's saying she was dating a lot of people online. It could be anyone, kind of a thing.
What an easy answer for him.
Right. Extensive investigation ensued, with much of the emphasis on DNA analysis and cell phone records. They obtained DNA from Mr. Starbuck and his two older sons to establish the YSTR DNA, consistent to the male Starbuck lineage. Samples of DNA were also gathered from additional men who recently had contact with her. DNA testing of swabs taken from the victim's neck, face, and fingernails revealed that the male Starbuck lineage matched the DNA found in those areas. One additional and unidentified male contributed DNA to Ms. Starbuck's neck. DNA was also found in the vaginal swab and on Ms. Starbuck's cell phone. But the male Starbuck lineage and the other males tested did not match. A total of 3 unidentified males contributed DNA found in these locations.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
dang, lady.
We don't slut shame here.
No, we don't.
But also,
wow.
That's a lot.
That is a lot on a body.
But the next question that I have is, how long does DNA last on a body?
Person? It's a good Google question that could get you in trouble.
Yeah, I'm not gonna Google that one.
They might track you for that.
I'm sure there's already some red flags from Google from this case.
From you, yeah, for sure.
But we're not gonna go down that route. And so Ms. Starbuck's cell phone records were also extensively reviewed. One person who had exchanged text messages with her on December 1st was Tom Walker, a man she had met 3 weeks earlier. The two had a date for the following Monday, December 5th. He testified that he left work at 9:40 that day to attend a funeral in the Valley and left the funeral at 10:30 to return to work. He texted Ms. Starbuck at about 10:50 to ask how her day was and to tell her he had attended the funeral. She replied at 12:10 p.m., so a little afternoon, asking if he would like to meet her for lunch at 1. He responded that he could not, as he needed to be at work. At 12:19, she texted back asking if he was on his way for lunch. He responded at 12:26 that he could not. She did not respond to any more of his texts.
When was this?
That was on the 1st.
Oh, okay. Which, if we backtrack, the coroner said that she was possibly dead on the 1st.
On the 1st, yes.
Okay.
Ms. Starbuck's cell phone also showed calls and texts to and from John Wilson on December 1st, 2011.
She must like that name.
Why?
Because of... Never mind. Just continue.
John, quote, Wilson, was actually John Kenline.
Oh!
A married Spokane teacher who had met Ms. Starbuck on a dating website in mid-September 2011.
Wait, so he was using a fake name?
And began engaging in sexual relations with her.
Oh boy.
He testified he had plans to meet with Ms. Starbuck on December 1st and had arrived at her house at 10:30 that morning.
On December 1st?
On December 1st.
Oh boy.
He showed up at her house. When she did not respond to his knocking, he unsuccessfully tried to call her a couple of times from a payphone in Deer Park. Have you seen a payphone anywhere in recent years?
It has been a hot minute.
Since 2011?
It's been a hot minute, yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like I've seen like 1 or 2.
I think they even got rid of the payphones in the airport.
Yeah. I remember traveling and having, like, when I was an unaccompanied minor, I had to have, like, a phone card to charge up at the payphones.
Oh, really?
To use, yeah. Mm-hmm.
To call your parents and let them know?
Yep.
See, when I flew as an unaccompanied minor, I don't think I called, like, on my layover or anything. Now that I think about it. I don't know. We'll have to ask my dad if he remembers. Anyways. He went to the house. She didn't answer, so he went to the payphone.
Okay.
She didn't answer. He then drove to Whitworth, which is a university in Spokane, and tried to instant message her from a college computer, but still got no response.
Man.
Just after noon, he began to receive texts from her cell phone on the public computers at Whitworth or at a Spokane County library. She stated that she had been eating and asked if he had come by. He responded that he had been by her house and asked if she was coming back soon. He then texted that he would see her around 10:30 that night. At 1:17 p.m., her cell phone texted back, "Not tonight, I have a headache, and I will have Clay take the kids." And it was very much misspelled. And they have, like, the little parenthesis bracket things to show how it should be spelled. Mr. Kenline then responded, closer to 9:30, after she said, "No, I don't feel well."
Right.
Closer to 9:30.
Take a hint, buddy.
The final text from Ms. Starbuck's cell phone to Mr. Kenline was sent at 1:32 p.m. Nope, another hour. But it looks like it was missing the O, so it was N-T-H-E-R.
Okay.
Mr. Kenline drove back to Ms. Starbuck's house late that night, but found the house dark, and he could not get her to respond to phone calls or knocking.
So he's probably also suspicious at this point of what's going on.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
They filed charges against Mr. Starbuck on February 9th, 2012. The document alleged one count of aggravated first-degree murder with 5 aggravating factors and 1 count of sexually violating human remains.
Gross.
The prosecutor did not file notice of a special sentencing proceeding or the death penalty. Trial eventually was delayed until spring of 2013. The court heard a series of motions in limine, I don't know what that means, by the parties on the eve of trial. Let's see. So the court found that Mr. Starbuck was unable to sufficiently connect either Mr. Walker or Mr. Kenline to the crime, and the dating history was unduly prejudicial to the state while offering little or no value to the defense. The jury trial was conducted in May and June of 2013. The defense concentrated its closing argument on the unidentified DNA and inadequacies of the sheriff's investigation, pointing to a large number of items in the house that were not tested. The defense also pointed to Mr. Kenline as a possible killer. We heard the state a moment ago talk about, well, only Clay would know the content of those text messages sent to the children. Only Clay would say things like Dad or Marsh, the nickname of the youngest son. That's not what we heard from John Wilson, which was Mr. Kenline's alias. That's not what we heard from him. He said he knew the kids' names and he knew the kids' schedule. Why? So that they could arrange their dates, so that they could arrange their sexual encounters.
Gross.
John Wilson / John Kenline knew this. Chanin didn't even know his real name. The state asked you who else could have done this. Ladies and gentlemen, John Kenline was there 4 times that day. He didn't see anything. He was there at 10:30. Now, this is in the time frame where the state believes that she was still alive. So we're clear, ladies and gentlemen, you are the sole judges of credibility, and I leave Mr. Kenline's credibility in your hands. I'm trying to read this like the lawyer would be as he was presenting his final argument. Interesting about Ms. Starbuck's cell phone is what I guess I'll call the gloves on versus gloves off theory. OJ reference. R.I.P. OJ. If we're talking about
Not R.I.P. What are you talking about?
We'll get into that. Well, he's dead now.
I know, but you don't want him to rest in peace.
Well, there's a theory that he didn't actually kill her, that it was his son. I saw that conspiracy theory just the other day.
Wow, too bad it's too late for our conspiracy podcast.
But not for the true crime podcast.
True.
But yeah, I saw a theory that they never got an alibi or anything for his son. And, like, everything checked out and, like, lined up strangely.
How old was his son back then?
Late teens, early 20s, I want to say. So, like, doable.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just what I read.
That can be another podcast.
On the internet. Almost everything on the internet you got to take with a grain of salt. Or 2.
Maybe 3.
Maybe 3. Depending on your source. Okay. So, if we're talking about Ms. Starbuck's phone, which to 100% certainty does not contain Mr. Starbuck's DNA, but does have the DNA of another man, an unidentified man. Now, the state will say, well, obviously, his, Mr. Starbuck's, DNA isn't on the phone. He's wearing gloves. They don't explain why the other male DNA is there. Anyways, the prosecution insinuated that Mr. Starbuck had faked his car troubles and lay in wait in the house while the mom, Ms. Starbuck, took the kids to school and then assaulted her after her return. He used gloves to text the 2 men in order to suggest that she was still alive. The alleged motives were rage over the victim's lifestyle and financial and his support and maintenance obligations tallied $4,700 a month. That's a lot of dollars.
That's a lot.
The jury convicted him, Mr. Starbuck, as charged on the 2 crimes and found that 4 of the 5 aggravating factors were present. The court imposed a mandatory sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murder conviction. He then timely appealed to the court. So, as I was looking these things up, I also found like a couple articles from like the Spokesman Review. So this is the Clay Starbuck trial pulls veil off of private lives. Details of secret lives spilled across a Spokane courtroom Wednesday as jurors in the murder trial of a Deer Park man heard intimate tales of suitors trying to set up dates with the victim, the ex-wife of the accused. For much of the afternoon, jurors listened to the monotone answers of high school teacher John Kenline, who had refused to identify himself to investigators until one detective threatened to take surveillance video of him to the media.
Wow.
Today, the Deputy Spokane County Prosecutors is expected to call the medical examiner to document the strangulation death of 42-year-old Chanin Starbuck on December 1st, 2011. And it says Kenline documented in detail how he visited her home 4 times on the day that she died. And this was after he took a personal day off from his job.
I was going to say.
As a teacher.
Yep.
In high school. In our high school. So he described how he would use payphones and the public computers at at Whitworth University and libraries to keep his activities secret from his wife.
Yep.
He said he met Chanin Starbuck in mid-September of 2011. So, was that 2.5 months-ish? Mid-September, October, November, beginning of December. Yeah, 2.5 months.
Yeah.
We had a sexual relationship, he said.
So adulterous.
In between taking his kids to school, shopping with his wife, and taking his daughter to basketball practice, Kinlane said he never got a response to repeated visits to Chanin Starbuck's home, despite puzzling texts from her asking about his whereabouts. They said despite his many visits, including trying to open the front door, the investigators were unable to link any evidence from him to the crime. And
how do you come back from that? Oh my goodness.
That's
like, first of all, you're cheating on somebody, with your wife.
So
you're cheating on your wife with somebody.
You're cheating on your wife with somebody.
She ends up getting murdered.
Yeah, she ends up dead. You're seen as a person of interest.
Yeah.
And potential suspect for said murder.
Yup.
And you're a teacher at a local high school. Like,
yeah.
Sometimes I wonder how he still has a job at the high school. But, and it's not the fact, clearly he didn't kill her.
Right. Legally, he did not do anything wrong.
He didn't. Other than adultery, which I don't know if that's technically illegal.
I don't know if you can be,
charged with...
Yeah, charged with adultery.
I don't think you can. But morally, that is wrong.
Yes.
Maybe not legally. But
in the eyes of the school district, they can't fire you for having an affair.
No.
And they can't fire you for...
And it's not even the school district would be firing him. For me, if for some reason I ended up in his situation, I would get the heck out of Dodge. I would not want to show my face.
No.
In this city.
Right.
Where my name has been plastered all over everything.
Mm-hmm.
With a murder of the woman I was having an affair with.
I would move out of state. I would change my name.
I would not even move out of state. I would move out of the country.
That's fair.
I would go find the city of Atlantis and live under the ocean.
Mm-hmm. With the mermaids.
With the mermaids. But yeah, and the funny thing is, it's not ha-ha funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's uncomfortable funny. We all had weird vibes from the dude when we were in school. Before this ever even started.
Yeah.
And I know you definitely had a different experience than I did because you had him as a teacher.
Yeah.
I only had him as my tennis coach. But I remember, and my dad still remembers this also, is we had a beginning of the season parents meeting kind of thing, and he made some weird comment to the parents about how he will never be in the room with one of us by ourselves. We always have to have two of us.
Yep.
And all this stuff. My dad was like, what the hell? That's a weird thing to say.
Yeah, he said that the first day of class. My freshman year of high school. I was like, all right, welcome to high school. Okay.
So in your experience, what else did he say when he was just you're not allowed to be in the classroom alone with me?
He's if you need to come talk to me and you don't have a buddy, we're going to talk in the hallway. He's I have a no closed door policy is essentially what he was saying.
Which is fair.
And it's because there was some accusations. I don't know if they were true or not, or, I don't know anything about it, but from another school
Yeah.
So that's what that stems from.
I remember hearing about that when we were in school.
Yeah. There was rumors about that.
Rumors that he had affairs with students at previous schools and at our school.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Well, I had heard rumors that was part of the reason. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Again, I have no idea if that is actually true or not.
Right. I mean, the rumor mill was bussing about him as soon as we got there.
Oh.
Like, I think it got spread to, like, he came from California and there was something, and it was...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was... There was just so much that... Yeah.
You know what's wild, too, is the fact that I'm going to say this is he was actually a nice guy.
Yeah, he was a nice guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I never had him as a teacher, so I can't say from that perspective. Like, as a coach, he was hard because he wanted us to play well, but, like, he wasn't mean.
Right.
Or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then when I was in high school, I taught dance classes at my dance studio. Mm-hmm. And I taught the little baby girls.
Yeah.
They're like 3-4-year-olds.
Cuties.
They're just so stinking cute. I do miss those little squirts. Mm-hmm. But his daughters were in my class.
Oh, really?
So I knew his daughters and his wife and everything from that as well.
Yep.
And I remember it must have been... Because I played tennis my sophomore and junior year. So it must have been my sophomore year. He brought the girls in for class. Mm-hmm. And we finally put the pieces together. And I was like, holy shit, you're my tennis coach. I'm teaching your daughters. Mm-hmm. Be nice to me. Like, just let me have fun. Because I was not there to, like, win anything for tennis.
No.
Like, I was just there for something to do.
Right.
Which was fun. Speaking of, do you want to go play tennis with me sometime? The tennis courts are right there.
Not really. Let's do pickleball.
We can play pickleball on the tennis courts.
Yeah. I just won't play tennis.
Why? What's the difference?
My knee would, like, give out in a heartbeat.
What's the difference between pickleball and tennis?
It's less jarring because the court is not as big.
Oh. Well, then we can
debate tennis and pickleball later.
We'll have a conversation about that.
Pickleball is more fast-paced, too, and it's fun.
Tennis isn't fast-paced?
No, well, okay. Tennis, you're going to miss the ball all the time. Pickleball, it doesn't go as far, so there's less opportunity to miss. It makes sense in my head, okay?
Sure.
I grew up playing pickleball. Let's just go with that.
All right. Whatever you say. Mm-hmm. We'll go with that.
Yeah. Any
hoozle. I feel like I had something else that I was going to say.
Probably.
But now I can't remember what it was because we got off track slightly.
Does not surprise me. So, I don't know if you realize this, but I had him as a teacher when this was happening.
I think I remember you saying that now. Mm-hmm. Okay, so as a student in his classroom...
Again... 4 years later, after having him my freshman year, I had
him. This whole thing is playing out...
Yeah.
In real life...
Yep.
What... So, he misses class on December 1st. Calls out of school. I'm sick.
Right.
I actually need to go bang my girlfriend.
My side piece.
My side chick. And then... Does he come back to school the next day like nothing happened?
So, probably.
Or what was your experience with this whole...
I know he had, and it might all be just like a front now, I don't know. There was a lot of talk that his daughter was having a lot of, like, food issues and allergies and stuff.
Okay.
I don't remember if he was like, oh, you know, we're getting her tested with all this stuff, or who knows. I don't remember. But I do remember that being a topic of conversation.
In class.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was, I think, before everything happened. So
that would have been like the beginning of the school year.
Yeah.
Around the middle of September.
Right.
When he would have met Ms. Starbuck.
Who knows?
Sus. Continue.
I do remember him being, like, gone frequently in the beginning of the year, and I think that's why we were like, this is weird. Like, it's the beginning of the year. Teachers don't have that much vacation as it is.
No.
Throughout the year anyway.
Because they have the entire summer off.
Yeah. And so I think that's what either the rumor mill started with, you know, the food issues and the allergies and things like that. I remember for like a week or two, we started having a sub, and it was Mr. Hansen.
Mr. Hansen.
Who was my softball coach for a little bit.
We love him.
Yes. And
they were actually kind of ish neighbors when we first moved to Spokane.
I think I remember you talking about that.
There were two, like, several cul-de-sacs, like, lined up, and theirs was the first one and ours was the second one.
Oh, so you were a block away.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, like, our backyards, well, not ours, but the backyards were, like, connected by a fence.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, continue.
Okay.
Great guy. We love them.
Yes. What was I... Oh, yeah. So, and he had already been, like, long-term subbing in the school. So it wasn't, like, unusual that we were having him.
No.
And then it was announced that, okay, going forward, like, he was going to be our teacher for the rest of the year, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh...
That's weird.
That's bizarre.
But I'm sure, like, probably your first thought was, like, I hope his daughter's okay.
Yeah.
Because that had been the conversation prior.
Right. And then I knew what happened.
You have insider trading knowledge.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I knew what happened. Fun fact. So, because I'm a band nerd and played band in college, we would go around and play with the local high schools.
Really?
For Code Red, for the pep band. We would go play during basketball seasons. We would...
did they ever come to LC when we did pep band?
No.
Oh,
I don't think so.
That explains why I wouldn't know what you're talking about.
I think Code Red became a thing after we graduated.
Oh.
From LC.
So it was like the first couple years was when you were there?
My first year that I started Eastern is when they started Code Red, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And then the following year is when I joined.
Gotcha.
And then we would do like recruitment stuff and go play with the high schools and stuff.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I'm playing, you know, my horn at LC, just having a blast, you know, like just like a blast from the past playing
back in the old high school gym watching basketball and pep band.
And guess who I run into?
Oh, Mr. Kenline.
Yeah. And it was funny because, like, I don't think any of the Dateline stuff had been released or any of that. And I just had a conversation with him, just shooting the shit.
Yeah.
Like nothing had happened.
That is so
He seemed fine, you know, seemed all right. Same goofy glasses.
Dude, with his, like, sport glasses that he wears all the time.
That he tried to pawn on every student. Was like, you should get these glasses. Yeah. They're so cool. They're the best thing ever.
No, sir, they're not.
No. He was a little bit of a weirdo.
He was.
Yeah.
Definitely a little bit of a weirdo.
Mm-hmm.
But not like always just creepy weirdo, but also just like goofy weirdo.
Goofy weirdo. I remember we had done some task in freshman year history because he was a history teacher. We were talking about cartoons, and he's like, I will never let my kids watch Scooby-Doo because they're just high all the time. And my brain was like, what? And then he explained it. He's like, Shaggy and Scooby want food all the time.
Yeah, they got the munchies.
They got the munchies. And I was like, that was the first time that I put it together. I was like, you know what? You're probably not wrong.
That is hilarious. But you learn some very good investigative skills from Scooby-Doo.
Yes, you do.
And also how to make some good sandwiches.
Mm-hmm. I remember, he was honestly he was a good teacher. I learned a lot.
That's what I've heard. I think my sister had him as a teacher. And again, kind of like, and this was after the trial had happened and everything. And so everyone knew
At
the
this
details, what had happened, and
How awkward. Like, how do you address a classroom after that?
that's what I'm saying. Like, I would never, at least, especially at the same school.
Yeah.
But, like, staying in the same city and all of that, like, there's no way.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure my sister had him, and she liked him as a teacher. Like, she said he was a really good teacher.
He was. We had some cool projects. One of the projects I remember we had to write a new verse to We Didn't Start the Fire.
Oh, I love that.
With, like, current world events. Back then, that was back
2000, what?
8 and 9.
Oh, so that was freshman year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I had him senior year for current world affairs.
Okay.
Yeah. For a couple months.
Ish.
Yeah. But
that is actually a good assignment.
Yeah, I know. It was really, really good. And then Fall Out Boy does their version.
I know.
I love that one.
Such a good version.
I love both versions.
We should make our own.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right.
We'll sing it on our next one. I'm just kidding.
We won't.
No, we won't.
Absolutely not.
We might say it like poetry, spoken word.
Poetry. Mic drop.
I'm not gonna. No, you gotta snap.
Snaps. Sorry. Snaps. I was gonna golf clap.
No, snaps for poetry.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember this was. Oh shit! Probably. Let's see. Somewhere between 2018 and 2020-ish, I would say. I was at my parents' house. I don't know where everybody was, but I was at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching Forensic Files. And I just had it on in the background. I don't even remember what I was doing, but it was just like playing in the background. I might have been cleaning or homework or who knows. And I'm just like halfway listening, and then I glance up and I'm like, that face looks kind of familiar. And then I just don't even think much of it, and I'm like, I've probably seen this episode before. And then they're like, yeah, John Wilson, also known as John Kenline. And I was like, shut the front fucking door. I was like, hold, pause, rewind to the beginning.
Yep.
What did I miss?
Let me get my popcorn.
Basically.
Yeah.
And so I sat and I watched the whole thing, and I was like, oh my gosh. Because again, like, we had heard, at least from me, we had heard there was a woman killed. We heard then after the fact that Kenline was a person of interest. And that's it.
Yeah.
I didn't know, like, how he became a person of interest, or...
Really?
I didn't know any of that kind of stuff. So, I'm watching this, and I'm like, oh my god. And like I said from one of those articles, is they were able to get him to come forward because they were going to release the security footage from... It was either the library or wherever he stopped for the payphone.
Yeah. Yeah, there's footage of him walking into, I want to say, the library at Whitworth.
That's probably what it was.
Or whatever
library it was, yeah. That probably was it. But I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I had heard he'd had an affair. He was a person of interest. I'm like, how does this guy get connected with all of this? It doesn't make sense. Until I'm watching this, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, he was at her house.
Yeah.
Multiple times. But then my next thought was, like, that poor family, like, his family.
Yeah.
The wife and his kids. I'm like, imagine being married to somebody, one, finding out that they're having an affair.
Yep.
By finding out that their mistress was brutally murdered. Like, I can't even...
Bamboozled.
Flabbergasted. Yeah, but I remember, like, immediately after that, I'm pretty sure I sent you a Snapchat or something.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, look at what I'm watching! And you're like, yeah. We've all seen it. It's like, have you seen the Dateline? And I was like, I didn't know there was a Dateline either.
I remember that. Oh my gosh.
And I was like, well, shows what I know. I kind of live under a rock sometimes, I feel like.
Yeah.
A little bit. But
wild times.
I
felt so hipster. I was like, I know you don't. I knew before everybody knew.
You knew the inside scoop-de-doop.
Yeah. Just crazy, though.
Like, in Spokane, it's not a big city, but it's not little town.
Yeah.
It at least when we were in high school, it wasn't a big city.
Feel big.
No.
I mean, it still was, but it was
very spread out.
Yeah, it's just very, like, still everybody knew everybody.
It had small town feel.
Yeah.
But being a city.
Yep.
But
our high school felt very small, even though it was big.
Our high school was huge.
I know. But not when you talk to, like, people that went to school in California.
Yeah. That's true.
Or some places in Seattle, probably.
But it's like, yeah, in our little town of Spokane.
Crazy.
Murder
on the Orient Express.
Did you see that they made a Lego set of the
Orient
train?
Express? Yeah.
The Orient Express?
I did see that. It's amazing.
It's blue.
It
looks so cool. There was another Lego set that I saw that's coming out soon that I was like,
there's so many.
Did you see the Milky Way one?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I want that one.
Some of the artwork ones are beautiful.
Some of the art one, we're gonna have a Lego episode.
Yeah.
We'll invite Jesse on for the Lego episode.
That would be
He would get a kick and a half out of that.
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure that one out. But yeah,
murder. Not Compton.
Not on the
Deer Park. But
so I was talking to somebody the other day, and I referred to Spokane as Spokompton, and they had never heard that before.
Really?
And I was like, what? And he was like, that is hilarious. And I was like, we've been saying that forever.
Yeah.
And I was like, Spokanistan.
Yeah.
There was another one.
I don't hear that one as often.
Not anymore. But Spokompton is big now, because we were talking about how all of the gang folk have moved up this way, and the city is not as safe as it once was.
Yeah. No, definitely not.
Again, like when we were in high school, our high school was more or less in the middle of downtown.
Yeah.
And
we used to walk downtown all the time.
Everywhere downtown. And I was talking to my dad semi-recently, and I was like, I don't know if it's because we were young and naive and just, like, not aware of our surroundings, or I was like, I personally, as a young female, I never, like, truly felt unsafe downtown.
Right.
Unless it was, like, the middle of the night and it's dark. Yeah. Most anybody is going to feel unsafe. But I was like, nowadays, like, I don't want to walk downtown by myself in the middle of the afternoon.
No, definitely not.
And he was like, no, like, I mean, yes, you were naive because you were a teenager.
Right.
But it was
gotten so much worse.
Significantly safer, and just, it's horrible what happens nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, the number of shootings and stabbings and, like, just, I'm like, it's Spokompton nowadays. But that's what we were talking about, was like how unsafe the city is. And I was like, yeah, good old Spokompton. And he's like, I've never heard that before. And I was like, that's hilarious.
Tell more.
There was another one that I feel like we used to say, but now I can't think of what it was.
Yep, I know. I can't put my finger on it. We used to be the meth capital of the world.
Yeah. Before Albuquerque.
Yeah.
Thanks to Breaking Bad.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Walter White took it down to New Mexico.
She's booped. Yeah, she's done. She smelled something good.
She smelled. I don't know what she smelled. She's a weirdo.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the information that I have about the State v. Starbuck.
The whole time you're trying so hard not to say Starbucks.
I really am.
You're trying so hard, and it's very apparent.
It is taking everything in me to not add the S on Starbuck for Starbucks. Because it's coffee. It is. I mean, they're not the coffee people.
Right.
But it should be Starbucks.
Even though they were probably first, their lineage.
I mean, probably.
Yeah. Did you say what his sentencing was? I don't remember. I know you said they didn't do death penalty.
I think I read it. I think it was...
It's at the very beginning.
Wait, hold on. Where'd it go? Dum-dum-dum. I know I read it.
Un momento, por favor.
Please hold while I try and speed read. I'm not very good at that.
I'll play some elevator music. That's the Jeopardy music. I was gonna say.
Okay, so the court imposed the mandatory sentence of life in prison without possibility of parole for the murder conviction.
Good.
So he was sentenced to life.
Man, they're poor kids, though.
Yeah.
So sad.
So, again, 3 of their 5 children were minors.
Right. When this went down. So their mom was brutally, horrifically killed. Yeah.
And then their dad ended up in prison for the rest of his life because he did it.
They lost both parents. I mean, the dad's a piece of shit, obviously, for that.
Clearly. But
now the kids have to grieve losing their mother and then also deal with the fact that now their dad has been accused of murdering their mother.
And then found guilty and put in prison for life.
Like, that's just therapy for life. Therapy for life.
Out of, like, my own, like, morbid curiosity, I wonder if the kids were in court when this happened.
Oh.
I would doubt
don't know
it.
If it's allowed.
I would doubt it because they were minors.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't think it's allowed.
I mean, this was in 2012, 2011, 2013.
Yeah.
So it's been minimum 10 years. So these kids can find all of this information on the internet now.
Right.
I don't know. I doubt they would know, like, the details at the time of, like, how she was found and everything.
Right.
But I wonder if the kids have gone and, like, looked up
just out of their
more details, just out of their own curiosity, because they were, I mean, it doesn't say how old they were, but they were young, ish, I'm sure. Just out of their own curiosity and to ease their own minds.
I don't know, that wouldn't ease my mind, that's for sure.
I don't know if it would I think if you didn't know and you were just curious, like, I can understand how you would want to know.
Yeah.
But I think the truth, at least in this case, would be worse than not knowing.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you want the last image of, like, your mom to be her dropping them off at school and telling them, love you, bye, see you at basketball. And, like, that's it. Like, that's what you want the memory to be.
You want to keep the good memory.
Yeah.
And not how she was at the end.
Yeah.
How she was found.
Right. No.
To be that last memory of her.
No.
Just so crazy. Well, R.I.P. to Chanin Starbuck.
Yeah.
We wish the best for her kids. We hope they're well.
Absolutely.
Clay can kick rocks and get fucked.
In jail.
In jail.
Where he'll spend the rest of his life without the possibility of parole.
Good for him.
Where he belongs.
Good for him. I hope he has the day he deserves.
Yep.
But I think that's podcast.
That's the podcast.
It got dark.
Yep.
But, sometimes you gotta take a dive.
In the deep end.
In the deep end. In the nitty gritty.
In black waters.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then there were some black waters in there.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Anyways, I'm Jen.
I'm Haley.
And this is where I'm at here. Don't forget, you can send us a text. The link is in the description of each episode. And
send us fan mail. I like getting fan mail, especially when it's about me.
Send me fan mail also, please, because I feel a little bit left out now.
Or don't. It's fine.
But yeah, send us fan mail. Let us know what you want to hear about. And we hope to hear from you guys soon.
Yeah. Till next time.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.